Good morning, everybody. Welcome into this edition of CanesInSight Daily. I am Peter Ariz. D-Money will be joining us in just a moment here, as well as Steve Kim, as we have every Thursday here. Always brings great perspective here to the CanesInSight podcast. As always, this show is brought to you by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Dial 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733 to take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. So, guys, it's been another long coping week here on CanesInSight, and the man who's going to be joining us now always puts things in a great perspective, and that's Steve Kim, who I actually saw out there in Dallas. Unfortunately, fortunately, we got to have a nice chat at halftime. The subject matter was not great, and ended up kind of laying the table for what we saw there the rest of the game, Steve. But welcome in. Excited to have you on here. How you doing?
Petey, good Thursday to you. Always great to join you and eventually Danny Money. Great to see your father on Saturday. I wish it was under better circumstances, but it is what it is. And look, there's still some football to be played. A third of the season is still remaining, and this is now a litmus test for the culture and the leadership of Mario Cristobal. And this has nothing to do whether or not they make the playoffs. That's almost out of their control in a lot of ways. That number 18, I can't really argue that based on the recent play. But you have 4 games now. Let's see how many they actually win. They will still be favored, I think, significantly in all 4. So, if you put together a 4-game winning streak here, you still have a shot at a postseason that matters. And then you're coming off now back-to-back double-digit win seasons. Now, there'll still be a bad taste in everyone's mouth of what has happened since the Louisville game, and I get it. But still, 1/3 of the season is still in front of us.
And Steve, as always, it's Thursday. You're joining us. We got to thank Jensen's Sunset Corners for putting this together. Shout out to the Cruz family, great partners here for this segment on CanesInSight with you, Steve. So
absolutely. And look, we still have a couple of home games remaining on the schedule, including a very dangerous NC State team that now seems to be rolling offensively. And before you head out to Hard Rock Stadium, make sure your tailgate is loaded up and ready with everything that you need. Jensen's Sunset Corners, they have you covered with all the best wine and spirits. And here's the thing. If you come in rocking your gear, any brand, any year, any vintage, you can even have the pipe on Sebastian the Ibis or just the Band-Aid. You know how I feel about it. Should be old school. Anyway, you get 10% off all non-sale items on game days at Hard Rock Stadium on all non-sale items. Rep that 8701 72nd Street in Miami tradition. Jensen's Sunset Corners.
There you go, sunsetcorners.com as well if you guys are looking for any other information there. Steve, I wish I was in the liquor store while I was watching the game as that one unfolded. Because, it was just such a slow dying death there that we really saw coming from the conversation we were having at halftime. And then the last month of the season, essentially.
The word that I use is slog. It was a slog.
You see, I use the word lethargic in the title here. So
yeah, it was, and this is kind of the way we've been. And I kept trying to tell people the Stanford second half was a little bit misleading and a mirage. A couple of really good punt returns from Malachi Toney, an interception that went down to the 3-yard line from Wesley Bassant, and a late garbage time touchdown to pour it on. So if you just looked at the score, you could say, 42. Yeah, but it was a little bit misleading. Sometimes you just don't look at the score. It does not tell you the full story of the offense or the game in general. And look, Danny can join us later, but I want to tell a story and have a little commentary. And it does kind of begin with our meeting. Everyone's kind of, Ford Stadium, nice, cozy, intimate environment. Halftime, the gun sounds. We all go downstairs. I want to get some fresh air, want to get into the shade a little bit.
Nice little concourse area out there.
Yeah.
And the sun came out.
Yeah. And so I see you and your father, and we have a nice talk. Now, I wish we would have taped it because me and you were saying the way we are playing and the general philosophy in terms of tempo and pace and not trying to jump out the lead and just clobber people early and make them dispirited and eventually quit in the third quarter. The way we play, and it's a common theme of mine, it lends to games being much closer than they should be, and it always makes you right for an upset. That was what we were saying all throughout halftime. With about 5 minutes to go, we said, okay, Pete, I'll see you after the game, and I go up. So I'm in section 221. Now, the 220s in that one corner is basically where about 90% of the Miami Hurricanes were, with the 100 section all kind of grouped in together. As I'm walking up to my row 21, seat 6 seat, I'm kind of walking up and I'm looking around. Our fans were just absolutely bored. They were in this malaise. They're just kind of sitting on their hands, not having a lot of fun. And I said, okay, it's the halftime. Sun's out now. We'll get going. Throughout the third and fourth quarter, the gentleman next to me is giving me updated scores. Clemson, Duke, Texas against Vanderbilt, and other games. And these games are high scoring. They're fun. They look like they have a lot of big plays. And I'm watching this down right for me. And I'm like, I'm at the boringest game. I'm missing out on all the good stuff. If this was not I would not be at this game, nor would I be watching it on TV. Maybe at the most, it'd be on one of the 4 boxes. And I'm thinking, wow, this is not really a lot of entertainment. And throughout the late third, when you know this game's now going to be a 1-possession game, it just felt that way. I look around our section. People were just waiting to leave. As was I. I'm just like, win or lose, let's just get out of here. Let's see Dallas. Let's watch the other games. And there was this, I would say, malaise throughout our section. There was no energy. There was no snap. People were very frustrated. So now you get to the end of the game, and it happens. I don't have to rehash everything. You guys have talked about it the whole week. I generally sit in my seat for about 10 minutes to let the crowd clear out. Then you walk over. As I'm walking down and I see all of the fans, and then I'm walking outside past the Doak Walker statue, the Mustang statue, leading into the Moody Parking Center where our car was. The fans weren't even angry. Peter, there was resignation, which I think is worse. It's now bordering on apathy because we're so numb. And I'm just talking to various fans who are coming up to me. By the way, good number of fans from CanesInSight. Hello to all those fine people. Thank you for making the trip up. It was great to meet you guys.
Shout out to the OrchidMan, who we also saw at halftime.
Yes, we met him at halftime. Pete, there was not even visceral anger or any real emotion. There was resignation that, wow, this is what we are under Mario Cristobal. Chokers. We can't do the routine. So here's the thing that really was poignant to me. I get in the car with the fan. Now, this is not an ordinary garden variety fan. This is a guy that goes to every home and away game. He goes to every single game. The 3 most important things in his life are his job, his family, and Hurricane football, and not necessarily in that order. And I heard something in his voice where he basically said, I think I've had enough. It almost made me emotional because I'm like, wow, really? Because I'm kind of used to it now. I really am. And he goes, well, Steve, I don't know how much more I could take. And let me impart to you a story, Petey. You're a young guy. You're a young whippersnapper. And even this guy was a little bit before my time.
Only for a few short more years, man. I'm Not quite the young man I once was.
Yeah, but you'll always be younger than me. That'll never change. Peter, there used to be a fine newsman, worked for CBS. He was an American and a national icon by the name of Walter Cronkite.
Of course, Arizona State, the school, the journalism school named after him.
He visited the Vietnam War and covered it live. And what he witnessed during that period of time, he came back and he made a commentary that was incredibly powerful to the American public. And our president, and again, I want to make this clear, this is not a political statement. I'm just telling a story, and I'm trying to draw an analogy here. Lyndon B. Johnson said after hearing that, the legend has it that he said, if we've lost Cronkite, I've lost middle America. And when I heard this particular individual in that car, I said, Mario, you've lost Cronkite, because if you lose this guy, you're in trouble. And let me just tell you something. I get it. We're just fans, just regular everyday fans. We're not the high-heeled boosters. We're not part of the Columbus cartel. We're not part of the upper management. We don't sit in the Golden Cane section arriving at 30 minutes late for the game.
Steve, go. I'm gonna let you finish your comment. I have one thing to say. Go ahead.
But I'm so sick and tired of people saying we're just fans. I do not argue that at all. We're just fans. However, there are more and more of them, because I'm in private chats and discussions and group settings where people are saying, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact these people go to games, home and away. And they're saying, I'm done for the rest of the year. I may not go to another game for a while. And I'm thinking, really? Really? Because let me just tell you something. I get it. We're just the plebes. We don't matter. We don't write the 6-7 figure checks. We're just part of that proletariat. I get it. But when you start to lose us, beware. You're losing something. You really are. Now, the group of fans that I think are really important, that I care about the most, even more than me, are the former players. Players that have played throughout all the eras of Miami football. I've been in contact with a few of them. They're disgusted. So it's not just a bunch of us know-nothing fans watching on a couch who feel this way. That's my view of it. We're just the fans. But we matter to a certain degree, and what I am hearing is a growing sea of discontentment. So in the immortal words of Walter Cronkite, that's the way it is.
Listen, I don't disagree with as we get D Money here. I have one thing to say, and D, I'm glad you're on here for this one. This is a very true thing. There's a very negative connotation about the Columbus cartel. If someone else wants to step up and put the money up, then we can call it another cartel. So let's calm down with
that. Pete, listen, I got a rule that I feel strongly about. If you're not part of this or you're not donating to the school, I don't want to hear a word about investment. Do not say that word. If I hear one person say the word investment that has not put $1 into any of this, shut up. You can talk about how bad the coach is. That's obviously free reign. But don't talk about investment unless it's your money. Now, if you put money in, you can complain about investment and ROI all day. Well, but if you haven't, then you do not say investment. You say the coach, he's bad because of this. And that wasn't so much. Do not say investment.
It wasn't at you, period. Steve. It was just in general. I see a lot of like the Columbus decision makers. It's like, listen. If someone who graduated from another school wants to step up and put the money up, then anyone else can have that.
Danny, I will counter this. Then. I think a lot of those people that I spoke to that came up to me that were absolutely down in the dumps. There was doldrums. I've never felt that, and I've been to a lot of losses the last 15 years. Honestly, I was at Randy Shannon's second game. We lost 52-10. But there was hope. Like, hey, don't worry about it. It's Randy's second game. It'll get better. It never really did outside of a month in 2009. I believe these people do invest in the program.
Oh, for sure. It was a Golden Canes trip.
Steve, I will say, though, Steve, I don't know how much of that feeling was because close your eyes, you win 4 in a row. What's the feeling like? We don't obviously whether
if they don't make the playoffs, it'll be
then it won't be good. But But I think that feeling in that moment, Steve, I don't know that it was giving up on. The only thing I'll say is I don't know that everyone necessarily has not everyone has given up on the Mario situation.
No,
I
they
think
have not.
what it is that they realize that this loss was effectively you take the destiny out of your own hands, and I think the almost that feeling was what was so gut wrenching about that loss, in my opinion.
Peter and Danny, I'm just telling you, there was a term on your boards, and I wish I would have taken down who actually had it in the title. I've never heard this term before. I don't know if this man created it. And again, go out to CanesInSight. Make sure you post there. The term was institutional armor. And I was like, wow. And a lot of what that man said was true. And I don't use that as a pejorative. I give Mario Diaz a lot of credit for opening our eyes. Maybe the process began with Mark Richt in terms of, hey, guys, you want to play big time ball and be a football, not a program, but you want to be a program? We are now a program. We have resources. We spend money. We recruit at the elite level. There's an air of seriousness and balance and stability that Mario brings. All of that must be applauded. However, that does not make him immune to criticism. My view is this. As I'm watching this game and certain decisions are being made, guys, I don't know where you sat, Pete, but with about 40 seconds to go and a timeout and all we need is a field goal, when we went into like that victory formation or that kneel formation, you should have heard the crowd. The groaning was collective. And so as I'm watching this, I'm just thinking, this is actually worse than I thought. I knew what I was getting with Mario Cristobal. I didn't know that his game management and game philosophy was actually this bad. I'm like, Mario, no one's explained to you. They've actually cut the clock a little bit. You have to play at a faster pace. You have to have more plays. By the way, Mario, against good teams, it's actually okay to score 30 points and a half and then control the clock in the second. I said in one of my videos, or that got clipped with Mario Cristobal, he wants to win the national championship of time of possession. Well, we're still in the running for that. And if we win that national title, I guess we're all going to celebrate when he gets a trophy that's shaped like an hourglass. I mean, it's a boring, guys, it's a boring product. Danny, I wish you were there in Dallas because I'm looking around going, we were all just waiting like, all right, let's get out of here one way or the other. We want to do some stuff. The best football I saw last weekend was at the bar in my hotel room. That's the reality.
Yeah, it was boring, and it's been boring. And I think, I made a long post on CanesInSight, which you referenced, 7.6 million posts and counting, dating back to the Hurricanes legacy, back in '96, calling out boring offenses. But I would say the best way to sum up this team, very simple, is we are a down and distance offense that is extraordinarily undisciplined with respect to penalties. And you just connect those two things, and it's going to be boring. It's going to be frustrating, and you're going to lose close games, which has been pretty much what's happened the last couple.
We are lethargic. And Mario the Methodical, this style, I think, is fine for 1995. Last I checked on my Peanuts calendar, 2025. And I'm just telling you, so a lot of people are making not a big deal, but reference the video when our team's coming off the bus, guys are yawning. You know what? I don't even think that's that big of a deal. It's an early start time. I've never been at a game that started before noon, guys. And it was a little bit of a buzzkill, right? So our players need to get into the game. Do you know how you make players bored? Play a lethargic style where there's no energy and no juice, and it's a slog, and it's 7-7 late into the second quarter. This is how bad it was. Someone pointed out to me, they're like, Steve, I'm like, yeah, look at Michael Irvin. And he was there. He was even bored. If you can't get the human ball of energy, Michael Jerome Irvin, to be excited because you play a boring style. Now, when you are creating big plays, scoring a lot, everybody's having fun, that is a natural stimulant. And I'm going to tell you a story, guys, and I know it's a different situation, and it opened my eyes. A couple of weeks ago, I was rewatching on that Sunday night when it happened, or that weekend, A&M goes into Death Valley. Then they start running away with this game in the fourth, and they're playing a quick tempo style, creating big plays. Everyone's excited. At the end of the third quarter, you know what they did? They didn't just raise the four fingers. That whole team rushed out to the A&M side, and they went to their fan base because they were excited. And they created like a mini pep rally. And I was like, wow, Miami used to do that stuff. You can't do that when you're slogging through the game because the players are bored too. That is the reality. And I'm watching Elko kind of look at this going, this is what he's created. Because he plays in a style that is like, hey, we're going to be fun. We're going to be exciting. We're going to create explosive plays. When I saw that scene, I said, effort can be dictated by hope and energy. Right now, we play in a way where our players are just going and grabbing a hard hat. It's like, oh, another day at the coal mine. That's not fun. It's not fun, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's not a team with a lot of juice right now. I think you play Syracuse at home, a team that's the worst, among the worst in the country in pretty much every category right now since Angeli got hurt. This is a game where you got to get the energy going and the juice, whether it's play calling, getting young guys going, just executing. I mean, Stanford was supposed to be that, and it was you covered, but it wasn't like an offensively exciting game. I can't even think of too many plays in that game offensively. They got me too excited. That was more of a defensive special teams type performance. I think it's really getting the fun back, certainly with young guys getting opportunities. JoJo Trader, you hear Gerard Pringle's going to play in this game, Jordan Lyle with Mark Fletcher out. This got to be the fun game. If this was not fun, I don't think we're going to have much fun the rest of the year.
You know, this reminds me a lot. And again, I'm not giving up on anything or anybody. The reality is Mario Cristobal is going to get at least 2 years from what I've been told. It's fine. He earned it. I hope he gets it. I hope he gets to right this ship. But right now, his own tempo, style of play, and philosophy, this is his version of Mark D'Onofrio. You either evolve and adapt or die. Every coach has an albatross. You got to be able to overcome it. So let's look back historically. People say, Steve, what loss does it remind you of? Like, when were you really down? Well, since everyone compares Mario to Butch Davis, and I think that's actually a pretty good comparison, let's go back, kiddies, to 1999. Yeah, that how far back I'll go. There was a year where we started off 4-0, 3-0. It was great. We absolutely blow a game late to Penn State. Chafee Fields, damn you. You broke my heart. September 18th of that year.
Mike Rumph, Ed Reed.
Ed Reed, right. I still say we got the first down. But anyway, I'm not going to rehash that one. So the next game, we go to East Carolina. Now, they were coming off a hurricane, and I believe this game was actually one that was almost canceled. East Carolina was displaced. People were actually evacuated, but they played the game. We were up 24-7, either at the halftime or early third quarter. Game is in hand. All of a sudden, we shut down the offense. Kenny Kelly cannot hit the broadside of a barn. And East Carolina had this big, strong quarterback by the name of David Gerard. Actually made the NFL.
Jaguars.
Late into that game, they started running the option, and they caught us kind of like where we couldn't handle it that well, and guys were slipping all over the place, and we didn't have any running back depth. Najee had gotten hurt for the year, and other running backs were not available. I think James Jackson had a hamstring issue, and Clinton Portis carried the ball well, and he ran for over 100 yards, but he ran pretty cautiously, so we couldn't get any explosives out of the run game, and we choked the game off. And that began a year where I believe we lost 3 or 4 games before finally making this miracle comeback against Boston College, where we were down 28-0 with about 18 minutes to go in the game. So there was a situation, and I believe that was Butch's 4th or 5th year. We said, this ain't going to work. Now, on the flip side, a year later, we might have been the best team in college football. So this thing can turn a lot of different ways.
Real quick before we get
hold on. Before you do that, I'm upset that I didn't get it in time. I just made this while we were while we're here, but it's something new that I'm going to unveil right now, and we might, you never know, we may have it, we may use it again.
I like this.
Look at
I like this.
This will be the new graphic we use. So whenever you feel like getting into story mode, Steve, just let me know.
You know what you have to do though? You got to have it where I'm like kind of talking like this, and then have like an ibis, have the Miami Maniac, and have like Hurricane and Hurricane.
I'll work. Like I said, I did it.
Yeah.
I just whipped it up right now.
I like it.
So I'll tinker with it more.
I remember that game so vividly, man. That East Carolina. It was first of all the second time we lost to East Carolina, which the first East Carolina loss. I was a kid, but I remember walking down the spiral. So I must have been 11. Man, I was what my son is now.
31-8.
I remember walking down that spiral, and everybody was just like, "This guy's never going to do anything." And it was, because East Carolina at that point, that was like probably the equivalent of Middle Tennessee State loss. Middle Tennessee State loss was worse, like in terms of like the way it went down, but just at the time, this was closer to the national championship eras that you're kind of like, I remember just, it was unthinkable. And then the second one was like, if it's not now, when is it going to be? Because we had on that team, that was 99, if I recall. So you had Ed Reed, you had Clinton Portis, who had a really good game that day. You had Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss, Mike Rump,
Gonzalez, Andre King,
Dan Morgan, Damian Lewis.
Bubba Franks.
Yeah. So you go down that list. I mean, that team, like, I don't remember what either Hurricanes or Grassy looked like that day. I can't imagine anyone was keeping the coach.
I do. And by the way, I think that was the weekend I coined Coker T, because if you watch the second half of that game, we kept running that. And I'm thinking, hey, guys, you're going to allow a formation that takes either Reggie Wayne or Santana Moss out of the game on 1st and 10 from the 50. Guys, we're not at the goal line here. My God, it's a little early for the 4-minute offense. And you could feel the game slipping away late into the third. It almost felt like if we're going to win, we're going to hold on by the skin of our fingernails. And it felt that way, Peter, inside of Ford Stadium last week, exactly like that. I kept thinking we are the far superior team. If we ever get up by 2 scores, we might actually run downhill on them. And unfortunately in that game, we had a catch by Bauman that would have put us 1st and goal. That was expunged by a penalty. JoJo Trader bobbles the ball, causes an INT. We were up 7-0. That's the unfortunate thing, because I know people are ripping back, and people talk about the 2 interceptions. Really, it was 1 that was his fault. All right? So I'm going to say something that's counter.
Which, by the way, I talked to some people, and when you're the quarterback and the ball's in your hands and it's a must win and the ball gets thrown and intercepted, pretty much your fault, barring a terrible drop.
It is. The second one's on him.
I've heard this. I've heard that with the miscommunication on the second touchdown, that there, Malley just being a young player, which, I mean, this guy's an 18-year-old star of the world. He probably shouldn't have gone upfield as he did on that. Look, Malachi Toney is the best. But that's, I think, just in the future, I think the improvisation that he made going upfield is one of the reasons why that pass was picked.
Yeah, sometimes you got to come across the face and not allow that defender to have a pathway to the ball. But I'm going to say something that's counterintuitive, and I know people are saying it's all the quarterback. We don't trust Carson Beck. The way we play football, if you're just going to go establish the run, oh my God, it's 3rd and 8. It's the toughest way to play quarterback. I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. I actually thought the first 2-3 drives, the way we came out, spread sets, a little bit of tempo, and I said to myself, guys, let's do that for a whole half. It was actually working well. And somewhere along the way, we want to go power. We want to have our identity. You know what I want, guys? Points. I want points. I don't understand this. Miami wants to be, in my view, they want to be Iowa, which is fine if you're in Iowa City. You are in South Florida, part of this. And if you want to recruit the way you want to, guys, I actually think style points matter. I believe having an entertainment value to the way you play football matters. Kids want touches. They want to play in a fun offense. They want their numbers. They're allowed to be a little bit selfish. There's nobody that could tell me, well, Steve, the last couple of weeks, I think every top 10 wide receiver wants to play on that offense. And I'll be like, really? Okay, I hope that NIL package is worth it. We have to be honest about these things. My only concern is there anyone in that building that'll say, Mario, can we evolve and adapt, or is this who we are? Because that would be depressing.
So let's talk about that evolution real quick. But first, want to talk about some folks that are always evolving and adapting, and that is the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. If you're an athlete like Steve Kim, hitting that heavy bag at all times, or just an active person, you probably know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or injury. Maybe even try to hack your own rehab. But if compromising your movement or performance is not an option, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether it's elite competition with Miami Hurricanes athletics or just everyday movement, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. Steve, you still training? You still going out there with a
wild
wild
I will
card?
be at Wild Card Boxing by about, let's say I got to do my segment with Coach JB. I would say by 8:45 to 9 o'clock. I'll have my hand wraps on. I'll have my gloves on. I'll be beating on a heavy bag at Wild Card Boxing. Yes.
Let's go. So let's keep it positive here now in terms of looking forward. What do you want to see, right? There's things that are not going to change overnight. It's November 6th. What do you want to see these next 4 games, starting with Syracuse, that will make, aside from obviously we got to win the game, that's going to make you feel better about the direction of this program?
As I was saying, I'm going to say something very counterintuitive. Put the ball into Carson Beck's hands earlier in the game on early downs and actually run a full quarter or at least a quarter and a half of up-tempo spread and try to get up nice and early and actually be more wide open. I'm going to say this again. I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's still apt. Do the Bill Walsh. Do not establish the run. Establish points and then run the ball late. Guys, I learned this a couple of years ago based on a video from a gentleman by the name of Keith Simons. He does a very good YouTube channel. He's a Miami fan, but he's an old school football coach. He has a resume. And he did a video explaining, guys, what's offensive balance? And I always hear balance. Well, you got to be 50-50 run pass. Yeah, maybe in 1985 that was considered balance. It's not. If you're going by just a run pass ratio, you don't actually understand modern day football. There's several ways to really define balance. In my view, balance is, can you run the ball when you want to and need to, and can you pass the ball anytime you want? That to me is like, for me, my definition of it. That's my core belief. Or what Mike Leach thought, and this is what Keith Simons was referring to. Mike Leach said, here's what balance is to me. I have 5 eligible receivers or ball handlers on each play, right? I want to make sure I spread the ball out as much as possible and get the ball a little bit more to my best guys. But every time I call an offensive play, one of those 5 guys is going to get the ball, but all of them will get the ball eventually as many times as they need and deserve. And that's it. And Mike Leach actually said, my perfect game plan, my perfect game where I said, man, I called a great game. She actually said, I never hand the ball off. Now, that's extreme, and I'm not asking for that. But that's what offensive balance is getting your best ball players the ball as many times as they need to out in space in an advantageous situation. It's not just, hey, we're going to throw it 3 times, but you know what? Let's just jam the ball up in the A gap for 1.5 yards each. Well, at that point, 3 runs, 3 passes. That's not really balance. It's not.
Mr. Prime said something I wanted to get to, but I appreciate your support. He says 3 and 4 wide receivers and rotate them out. I like having a lot of tight ends in the offense. Now, that's what we had last year, and it worked great. Number 1 offense in the country, and you still had your receivers getting action. The most underrated player, now that I look back on last year's offense, and this is very deep cut, but in terms of who I think we miss more than people would ever think, Cam McCormick.
Yeah.
Because if you look at good teams in the NFL, you look at good teams around the country, they use tight ends that can block. I mean, really block. They all have them. They're not the feature of the team. They're not the highest paid player on the team. But every team, look at pro, look at college, that has a lot of success, even the most innovative guys, they will have block first tight ends. And if you look at our team right now, we do not have a block first tight end. And on top of that, our receiving tight ends, either because of injury or ineffectiveness, are not giving us a dynamic presence. So even though I think that this offense in its true highest level is using a lot of tight ends, pounding the ball when it needs to, and really having that physical presence, which you saw last year, if you don't have those guys, is it time to just say, all right, let's get more receivers on the field and do it that way?
Last I checked, Danny, there's no rule that says if you go air raid or full-blown spread in the first 3 quarters, that you're not then allowed, after building a lead, to be physical and run the ball inside with the big lead. I'm just telling you, establishing the run when you can't actually do it is one of the worst game plans in football consistently. That was one of my problems with Coker during his run as the offensive coordinator. And look, if we were churning out 7-8 yards a carry, you would never hear me complain. Guys, we're not. And here's the other thing, Danny, as I'm watching highlights of these other games, these condensed versions, I'm catching up to everything. I am seeing a lot of explosive plays being created by all different teams, either running the ball or throwing it, obviously. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, these teams do not, and I get it, we don't have Andre Johnson, we don't have Santana Moss, but we're solid. I would be willing
we got Malachi Tony, though.
We have Malachi, who's a slot, though. He's a slot, so it's a little bit different. But how many explosive plays are we actually creating? I can't even remember a run play from where we hand the ball off to a running back that's busted for 50, 60 yards. And by game 8 or 9, you should have at least a couple of them.
Yep. Rocco's talking about rushing explosives too. I think you're going to see this week. And look, Fletcher's out, it seems like. Not for the whole season, but he's going to be out for at least this game.
He was limping off pretty bad the other day. Seeing it in person, it looked like it was not good. But
the thing about him is he's been by far our best running back this year. I don't think it's been close. I know some people say Marty Brown, but if you look at the stats and just to me the flow of the game, when Fletcher's in, we usually move the ball pretty decently. When he's out, major drop off. That's what I've seen. But now he's gone. So you have Lyle, who's more explosive than Fletcher as far as being able to break big plays in a vacuum. And then Jared Pringle, who we've been asking for on this show to get more opportunities, kind of the next man up. So I'm wondering if we can get some explosive plays out of this running back room, especially against a team like Syracuse, is going to be a soft landing for a lot of these guys. But you watched the Canes for a long time. The explosive running game has been a hallmark of this program going back to like Foreman, yeah,
Otis Anderson. I look at this offense and I'm like, geez, it's not a fun watch. It really is methodical. That's what I've kind of labeled Mario the methodical. And I get it. I understand what he's trying to do, but certain years you have to say, you know what, this is not our style. And guys, I hate to say it, our offensive line, which is going to have several guys, more than just a 2 or 3, that room's going to have some guys who can play in the National Football League. Look at the body types. Mirabel is a really good developer, but this may end up being our most overrated unit of this particular season. You cannot have that many penalties, especially of the pre-snap variety, and say that's a top 5 unit. It has not been as good as advertised. That is the reality.
Yeah, I'd say you're right. And I said that like after the Notre Dame game and the Florida game, I said this was the best offensive line in the country. I don't think too many national people disagreed with that. But then what you've seen since then, the pass blocking has been elite. I mean, Carson Beck has barely gotten touched. I don't want to jinx him, but I mean, I don't think he's been touched once off the left side with Markel Bell. So that part's been great. The penalties have been catastrophic. And then the running game has not been good. And I've talked to people. I did a long post on CanesInSight just called What I'm Hearing and Seeing. And it was not just my thoughts from watching, but talking to people outside the program, NFL, college, people who have studied this team. And they said, yes, teams are putting guys in the box to stop the run. Yes, there's predictability, extreme predictability on short yardage and things like that. Your passing game is not as explosive. That doesn't scare defenses to move back. But on a straight run blocking standpoint, man on man, we're not doing a good enough job. Center being the biggest culprit, left guard probably being the second biggest culprit, and then Inez Cooper, at least lately, not playing to where you need him to be based on what he's been for you and what you kind of placed him as one of your better players. So I would have to agree, while saying, yes, the pass blocking I think is still elite as it gets, probably the best in the country. The other stuff, way down the line.
And I also think, again, an offensive line, there's 5 guys. There's 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center, and you might have an attached tight end. So that's 6, 5 to 6. If they are consistently being asked, hey, guys, see that 8-9 man scrum? We're going to run the ball. You're not doing them any favors either. Again, I just want a little bit more. What I want to see against Syracuse, Danny, a little bit more or a lot more variety. And this means variety means, can we throw the ball a little bit more or a lot more on first down? We cannot be afraid of Carson Beck. I get it. He's been a little loose with the football. However, if we're going to shut this down to this degree, it's going to be unwatchable.
Yeah. No, it's
gonna be.
Trying to keep it positive here, Pete.
So, what are your expectations? Like, do you think we're going to get this done? We've November, we've lost in bunches every single year, I believe. I don't think we've ever gone through November without double-digit losses in the month. I could be wrong. Maybe the turnover chain year.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
it feels like double-digit after after all these years, but yeah.
But yeah, and I guess we lost the conference championship game the first week of December instead of November. But just it's always multiple losses this time of year, and we're not playing well. So do you think we will go 4-0 and get this thing done?
My view is this, and this seems to be the consensus among the people that I've talked to. The best case scenario is they go 3-1. Because that game at Pitt, and they have a new hotshot quarterback, Mason Heinscheld's going to run around, and it could be 15 degrees by that time in Pittsburgh. I think a lot of that depends on, are we actually playing for anything at that point? Okay, that does matter. Also, C.J. Bailey and NC State, you saw what they did last week.
Yeah.
Right? They're feeling good about themselves, but at least that game's at home. Most people believe we're going to end up 3-1, maybe 2-2. That's the consensus that I'm getting. I don't disagree.
Yeah, I don't know how you have a ton of confidence given the history and trajectory. The CJ Bailey one scares me because he's playing at a high level. He's hard to sack. He can extend plays. He has a great running game with both backs running very, very well. He has options at skill position. It's just a good offense, man. That's going to be a tough one. And he's going to be playing at his highest ability. That doesn't mean you can't force him into mistakes, but he'll be locked in. I think he should be our next quarterback, him or Lenora Sellers, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that's a scary one, and Pitt's a scary one. So we're the better team in both. Are we going to win either of them? I don't know.
That's never been a guarantee.
That's a fact. Let me ask you one more question, Steve. In terms of the quarterback position, I think Carson Beck's playing, pretty good, save for some bad mistakes, which is a big caveat. One of the reasons this running game maybe is not as dynamic as it could be is the fact that when you don't have to worry about him keeping the ball.
Yeah.
That's just not a factor. And there's offenses that are effective without that wrinkle, that element. But I wonder what this offense could be in the future, 26, 27, 28 with a running quarterback.
Yeah.
And a quarterback, there's a quarterback that can run for yards and what different element that would make. Just going forward with Miami's quarterback room, what would you like to see under Mario Cristobal?
Danny, on that tweet that I wrote on Saturday night in Dallas at the Hotel Motel Residence Inn, which got a lot of traction. I was actually surprised by that. I mentioned that moving forward, I would like, and again, I still want a guy that can complete routine passes. Okay, because I still think that has to be a key element, but I do think Miami needs a guy that is a threat at the mesh point and that can consistently put defenders in conflict. We all know the names that are out there, but when you're right there and that quarterback has that ball, that backside defender just can't routinely crash. That absolutely creates a natural running lane that really right now is not available. Beck actually kept it one time for about an 8-yard gain. With other quarterbacks, it could have been a 20-yard gain. And that is the one thing where I'm like, I'm really intrigued by Darion Coleman. I know his size is an issue, but he's going to be in shotgun anyway. He's got a great arm. Like, he could sling it, but his twitch and his athleticism and his ability to run around is, I'm like, we're kind of missing that, right? But I'm with you, Danny. In today's college football, I believe that mobility and athleticism at quarterback, it is not a luxury. It may be a necessity.
I'm trying to find your tweet, which did go viral. I got it in like 40 group chats.
Steve is humble, man. Steve, you know you're a needle mover in this Canes community, man.
I'm just a fan. I don't try to be anything more. And you know what's interesting? So when you're at the game, I don't have my laptop with me. Okay, so people were asking, Steve, when's your tweet going out? And I'm thinking, oh my God. It's like, and I kept getting more and more, like, as I'm leaving the stadium, people are saying, Steve, I can't wait to read what you have to say. And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to do this. So I actually watched a few games, Florida against Georgia, and I was watching Virginia, Cal, and there was another game, Texas Tech, Kansas State. So I'm watching, I said, all right, I got to go back to the hotel, get ready for dinner. And so I flip on the laptop, and I'm just looking at this blank screen on my email. I'm like, oh God, like, Petey, you're the youngest guy, but didn't it feel like that? It felt to me. Haven't you ever had that book report you didn't want to do, and it was late Sunday night, and you got to wake up in about 7 hours, and that book report is due Monday, and you're just like, geez.
Yeah, they got ChatGPT for that now, Steve.
Yeah.
The kids don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, so there it is.
Took me about 20 minutes to find it. You're a chronic retweeter, a serial retweeter.
I am.
All across the spectrum, too. I was learning about politics. I was learning about boxing, learning about college football. It was a journey.
I tweet a lot.
To get to that tweet.
Danny, I've said anyone that follows me, be careful. You better know what you're getting into. I may flood your timeline like Johnstown. Okay.
So yeah, it was a great tweet though. I got it sent in a million group chats. People were passing that on. Olivia Newton John RIP. Man, you talk about JoJo Trader. Yeah, that was.
We found something, guys. I get it. He bobbled the ball. I would have kept feeding him. I would have said, JoJo, we're on a run here. Get rid of that play. Let's do something. And again, I don't know if he was benched. I don't know if they're punishing him, but my view was, okay, let's take him out for a series. But it reminded me, this kind of reminds me of the old Michael Irvin story in Detroit. Story time with Steve again. Let's do a good story. So 1992, a young Michael Jerome Irvin on the throes of beginning his Hall of Fame run. He comes late to a game in Dallas. He actually misses the team flight in Dallas. And Jimmy Johnson is just like quivering with anger. And Troy Aikman's like, where's playmaker? They actually see Michael Irvin's car driving up. And Troy goes, Coach, Jimmy, he's here, Jimmy. And Jimmy goes, close the door. Close the door. So they leave without Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin's actually said, I had to rebook my own flight. I had to fly commercial, and people are wondering, what are you doing here? So he gets to the team hotel, and he just trudges in. And the one guy he really feared outside of Troy was Jimmy. And he said, hey, Coach. And he goes, Michael, I just want you to know I'm very disappointed in you as a team leader now. But you're going to be – I'm going to put you on a little suspension. You're not going to start. You're going to play. So they go out to the Silverdome. They're playing Detroit. First drive of the game. So it's Alvin Harper and then Kelvin Martin, little Kmart, who's really a third receiver. That drive looks awful because they're loading 9 men in the box. The drive looks awful, and they're getting off the field. Troy Aikman goes right over to the phone, and he goes, Norv, Norv, what the are we doing? We can't run this off without Michael Irvin. What? And so everyone's cussing him out. The offensive line goes, hey, we can't block 9 guys. Emmitt Smith goes, hey, guys, what are we doing here? So Norv Turner flips on the headsets to Jimmy. He goes, hey, Jimmy, everyone's going to cuss me out. They'll never cuss you out. But you have to understand, I'm getting all the heat for your decision. Now, Jimmy, we've made our point. We've made our point. Are we trying to win the game? We're trying to win the game. So so Jimmy goes, okay. He looks right over. He goes, Michael, get back in the game. His suspension was 3 plays. He had 8 catches for about 160 yards. There's a lesson to be learned. Not all punishments need to be punitive. God, Jimmy was good. Jimmy was good.
Story time, Steve. This is great job, Peter. I love it. So Rock and Rant said it was a big mistake for Mario, but I appreciate your support to tell the fans SMU is the same town as Miami. Don't gaslight us. Just say nothing. Then we are not dumb. I think this was blown out of proportion as a lot of these, like kind of the Carson Beck thing earlier. It was a show with Joe Sagaki. It was the Mario Cristobal show. This was not like a confrontational interview where he's snapping at reporters and being defensive and anything like that. And Sagaki was trying to be positive, as those shows go. And he was saying, you guys did this, you were able to do this, you had more talent, kind of focusing on the positives. And then Mario said, no, they have as much talent as anybody. They have as much talent as us. Just kind of a throwaway line. And I think when you watch the clip, what he's saying is these guys are good. They beat us. Like, don't tell us how good we are when we lost. It wasn't like, hey, we lost because we played a great team that just was too much. And, don't be mad at me for losing this game. They know they lost to a less talented team. Yeah. It was just coach speak of like, don't tell us how good we are. We lost.
Danny,
that's all it was.
I don't actually disagree with you from a fundamental level. I really don't. And you're right. You shouldn't disparage a team that just beat you. Bottom line is they beat us. But I wish, what I wish you would have said, though? I wish you would have said, Joe, what we did on Saturday against any team is not acceptable. That'll get us beat against a lot of teams. Because there was a coach who once said, if it's not okay in losing, it's not okay in winning. And he's right. You know which coach said that? Mario Cristobal. It's one of his phrases. And I saw things in the first quarter of the year where I said, when we should have known that our pace and tempo wasn't good? And I'll go back. Let's go back to September 20th. The fact that we were only up 13-7 against Florida as Cormani McClain picked the ball up. I remember watching that. I was there and I said, wait a minute. How in the hell are they getting the ball with a chance to take the lead? That game should have been 31-0. And I get it. It rained. The weather was an issue. But the fact that if you watch that game, you said to yourself, that game should not have been a 6-point game. Guys, tempo matters.
Yeah, especially with this quarterback, man. I compare him to Ward, and it's like they both have an extraordinary amount of pass protection, as we've seen. I think Ward was just such a perfect fit with this offense that Pete talked about it yesterday. I don't agree with everything he said, really most of what he said, but I do agree with the fact that
listen, we're talking about a lot of things that have been taken out of context. My comments have been taken out of context.
Well, Danny, to your point, as I was getting ready, I was listening to the Todd McShay show, and he did a segment on Miami. I'm a big fan of McShay. Watch him, read him. I subscribe to his website. He actually said in talking to scouts and doing some studying around Miami, he believes that what he's being told, his feedback from NFL personnel who have no horse in the race, they're just trying to find players. They believe Carson Beck will still be drafted within the second day, possibly. Yep. And they believe that he'll be at least a high-end, high-level backup that'll make a lot of money playing football for the next 10 to 12 years of his life.
I heard the same thing. And internally, look, when TVD was thrown,
they're not down on him. They are not down on him.
When TVD was throwing away the season in 2023, and it was this time of year, they wouldn't say it on the record, but off the record, it was like, this guy's killing us.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, they think Beck is good. Now, one thing I'll say just about the pass protection, right? So one thing Pete was saying was about how Pete was talking about how our situation helped Ward. And I think it was a perfect storm of a lot of good things. Obviously, he's the first overall pick, best player I've seen since Sean Taylor in Miami. So he was individually spectacular. But I think the fact that a quarterback with his playing style had that much protection, it was like a force multiplier, meaning his game is about being like the point guard, the combo guard. I'm pounding the ball. I'm going to make a play. I'm going to find an angle. I'm going to make a play. I got 24 seconds. Give me the ball. I control the pace. I'm going to make a play. When your offensive line gives you all day, you're going to find Restrepo getting open, on scramble ball. You're going to find those plays because you have the time. When he hasn't had as much time, other things have happened. The offenses haven't been as efficient with Washington State, and Tennessee is really bad. Yes. But it was a perfect fit. With Beck, any quarterback wants good pass protection, but Beck to me is a guy that's like, get the ball's out, I'm moving fast. Yeah. Like pace would help him more than necessarily just sitting there all day. Because sometimes you've seen him, he's had all day and then he's moving around. It's like, you don't feel great about it. It's not him. Speed up the tempo, let him get into a rhythm. And I think that will suit him more than it'll suit a Cam Ward, who you could play 1 mile an hour with Cam Ward. It doesn't matter. He's going to play at his own pace anyways. Speed up Beck, because I think that's more of his style.
If I'm just telling you, the first 3 drives that we were kind of running space and pace, I said, I like this. There's no need to stop. We don't need to do the tight formations yet. And I'm just there with that 1 3rd down late in the game where Fletcher got stuffed. I'm going to tell you again, from being at the game, the collective groan. And there's some, I hope the fans still show up. But Danny, you weren't with us at the time, but I am in more private group chats with fans who I know for a fact go to more than just home games who have said, Steve, right now I'm turning in my tickets. I'm selling them. And I'm like, ooh. And I think that's telling. I want this to work for Mario. No one can say, Steve, you hate Mario. If you actually look up all my posts, all my tweets, I'm actually a big fan of Mario. I want this to work with them because in my view, it'll work with him the best out of anyone we can get. It just ties together everything politically, the institutional armor we talk about, the loyalty to the program. This is a destination job for him. It's not some place that he wants to jump off to. It's not a launching pad, but he has to make changes. I don't believe he has to change his core fundamental principles of what he believes. Physicality, being big, because that is across the board. You always want to be that, right? But I actually think at 97% of this, he's good. Like, that's what we want. It's that other 3% that we got to get home, and can he just alter and change just a little bit? That's all I'm asking for.
Steve, Bo, when do we got to get you out of here? It's 10:03. We got 5 minutes?
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
out of here now. Yeah, just let me know. Sure. And we'll get your plugs in too. But people are saying about the game here on Saturday, it'll have 15,000. Club, if you can buy, what's they say here? So you can buy club level tickets for $23 right now. Here's the thing I'll say, Steve, and I'll pull something out right now, and I know you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. We were talking about this season actually a little earlier. This is the East Carolina loss season, 1999. So we get a little bit of momentum, and then Michael Vick, Virginia Tech, we're ranked 19th actually at the time, which I think we're ranked 18th now. Michael Vick at Virginia Tech, 43-10, complete domination. I was a freshman in high school. These 4 games, let's say the 3 home games, and there was a bowl after. These 3 home games
built momentum.
And I was there. Temple might not have been a home game, but Rutgers and Syracuse were home games. I was there in the Orange Bowl, sitting next to future NBC nightly news anchor Tom Yamas and his brother Lewis. There was no one at these games.
No one.
And this was the game. Ken Dorsey became the starter in these games. 55-0, 45-13, and then Temple was 55-0. That might have been a home game too. I don't recall, but this was the period, and there was no one at these games, and it didn't matter. So, and I guarantee you, the confidence in the coach was at probably a lower point even than Mario has right now with the fan base, etc. So that probably is going to be the case. That does not stop you from putting on a show for the people that are in that crowd and for finding something on offense that is something you can carry forward for the rest of the year.
Danny, my message to the players would be this. The eye in the sky does not lie. You're putting out your resume. You're putting out game tape. It matters. And when you go into your NFL draft meeting, you're meeting with clubs at the combine and they put in some bad plays, they don't ever want to hear, wow, you know what happened? God, there's only 23,843 people. I just couldn't get going. That actually is not an alibi that's going to fly. The other thing was, going back to that Dorsey run at the end, it was amazing. We suddenly went from the Coker tee to running a real, much more wide open. We actually ran trips one time, and I almost fainted. I said, wow, we're running trips. And the offense just flowed. And I remember the Gator Bowl. We played Georgia Tech, really good team with Joe Hamilton. Kenny Kelly started that game, got off to a good start, and then he kind of reverted back to what he was, very inconsistent, and Dorsey finished it off. Going into that next spring ball, Butch Davis put up an ultimatum. He said, hey, Kelly, if you want to play baseball, go ahead, but if you're not at spring ball, you're not going to be part of this. And then he left the team, and the rest was history. But going back to this year's team, look, guys, it ain't over yet. Have some personal pride that you individually, even if you're selfish to say, I'm going to play the best football I can because I want to make sure that every team out there at the next level says that guy is going to be a pro. He's a professional in his outlook. And this is going to be a test for Mario Cristobal about his culture and just what are we as a program, okay? No matter what has happened, you cannot fix the past, but you can help determine the future.
Love it. Steve, give us our plugs. Let us know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me at Steve Kim323 if you want to have your Twitter timeline inundated by a lot of inane ramblings and retweets. I'm your guy, Steve Kim323. And then on Instagram, Steve Orale Kim. Also, I do the 3 knockdown rule with Mario Lopez. And I'm going to be on with Coach JB in a little bit here. And, of course, Fearless with Jason Whitlock a couple times a week. And I just want to let you guys know, hey, this segment every Thursday is brought to you by Jensen Sunset Corners. It has been a Miami tradition. And before you head to Hard Rock Stadium, we still have a couple of home games, and make sure you go out there. Make sure your tailgate is locked and loaded with everything that you need for your pregame and your postgame. And if you come in wearing your gear on game days, you get 10% off all non-sale items. Support that great family. Cruz family, we love you guys. 8701 72nd Street, a Miami tradition.
Professionally done. The man himself, Steve Kim. Well, hopefully we're celebrating.
Yeah.
It'll be a crazy celebration, but hopefully we're cheering a successful step forward next week.
Danny, it's something you told me years ago when the regular season was expanded from 11 to 12. And I was like, I don't know. And you said, wait, Steve, we only get 11 weekends of Hurricane football anyway. We should be blessed to have 12. I look forward to this the whole year. These 14 weeks of college football, but specifically the 12 games Miami plays. Okay, I think about it all throughout February, all throughout the summer and spring and whatever. So I'm going to watch the games intently. I am. When I'm at Coach JB's house, one of those screens, the big screen, will be on the Syracuse game. Doesn't matter what else.
No, I don't know. It might be one of the 4 screens.
No,
like
we're not doing
earlier.
the 4 box. And by the way, with YouTube and ESPN battling, I don't even know if that's available right now. I've heard some stuff, but I'm just telling you, I am going to watch that game intently because it all links in together. Okay? As disgruntled and as disappointed as we are as a fan base, I do realize we are still only 2/3 of the season out. Anything can happen. Let's just play ball and let's just rack up these victories.
Love it. Joy, Steve. We'll talk next week. Be good.
Talk to you guys. Have a great weekend.
The best in the business, man. Steve Kim, one and only, the historian. That story time with Steve is amazing, man. You gotta keep that one going. That was great.
Real deal says Mario can fire all the coordinators they want to. He'll still piss down his leg and won't get fired because he has the Southwest A Street connection. Like I said, man, if someone from another street wants to put some money up then they can also have the decisions. So
yeah, I would love it.
I won't stand for that. I won't stand for the Columbus slander anymore.
I didn't go to Columbus, but I mean, I'm not complaining about people spending money on the team.
I just don't understand with the people who are like, we don't want. Do you not want the money then?
Yeah, we've been complaining about not spending money in this program for years, and now some people who invested are complaining, and that's fine. And everybody can talk about. You could not give $1 and say this guy's a bad coach. This guy needs to do this and that. That's everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's entitled to have an opinion. That's why we have Canes Insight. All I'm saying is what gets me mad is like, man, we invested so much. Like, you invested? Did you invest? Because if you didn't invest, don't say invest. Just say the coach sucks, the team sucks. That's fine. Don't say you invested, and don't get after guys who are paying money for us to actually have a chance to win games. They're not the ones that are the problem. We've been asking for this for 20 years for people to start spending money and investing. So that's the last thing I'm going to complain about. Everybody's free to criticize the coach, team, us, whatever. But come on, man. I don't know. Sorry.
Hey, shout out to the Moss family.
Well, Nick Watson says, RIP Daddy was a huge Canes fan. He told me if Mario can't turn this thing around, no one will. Have some faith, guys. We went 10-2 last year. RIP to Pops, man. That sucks. But I hope those words last and turn out prophetic, because he's got a chance. We're not so far that you can say there's not a chance, because we're right there. So to say there's no chance of turning, I mean, we're a couple plays away. Now, is that the ceiling and we're just touch the ceiling and now it's downhill from there? That could be, but man, so close, man. Hard to say we can't do it. But real quick, we talked to Steve Kim, where he stays at every time he's in Miami, and that is Duffy's Tavern right there on the edge of Coral Gables, a unique watering hole, 60 plus years, now accepting credit cards. Yes, really. Now accepting credit cards. Look how old school, man. But you got the new school menu with the old school classics. I got the new school TVs. You're going there on Saturday to watch. If you're not going to the Canes game, if you're one of those people saying you can't go to the game, go there, watch the game, watch a million other games throughout the rest of the day. Sunday, NFL, they got that thing rocking and rolling. NBA, whatever it is, NHL, whatever you're into, they got it at Duffy's Tavern Sports Grill, the home of the Hurricanes. Pete's home away from home. Steve's home when he is in South Florida, man. And it'll be rocking and rolling all weekend.
Yeah, and we got the home game this weekend, D. So I know a lot of you guys will be out there tailgating if you're watching from home. Lomelo's Meat Market is where you need to get everything you need for the tailgate in terms of the meats. If you're not local, fresh Wagyu beef delivered to your door, lomelos.com. Promo code CIS10 for 10% off your order. Look at the marbling on that meat right there. And you see some of the options down here. The skirt steak, to me, for tailgating is as good as it gets. But you got everything else here. Again, promo code CIS10 for 10% off your order. And then if you're here in Miami, 9810 South Dixie Highway. So check them out, lomelos.com.
Pete, I want to talk about some of the pro Canes, right? Just like an update. I know you did the Cam Ward thing that got people excited, and we'll talk about that too. But just in general, man, I wanted to talk about the guys that are in the pros right now, to just check in, right? See how they were doing for those who don't follow the NFL as close, or don't follow only their team or whatever it is. So part of this thing with Mario and turning this thing around is producing real NFL players, guys that other players that are recruits want to be like, right? The Justin Jeffersons for a receiver from LSU, you go by whoever. So let's take a look at some of the guys and just give the update on how they're doing in their rookie years. And I'll let bite your thoughts as well. Cam, this one's been pretty well publicized, having a rough season, to say the least, at the Tennessee Titans. This is a situation where you just hope he doesn't get too many bad habits. They're going to be switching offensive philosophies, head coaching philosophies. It's all going to be brand new next year. I think with him, you clearly need to upgrade the offensive line, the running game, and I think just take the ball out of his hands a little bit, where he's not having to play hero ball, because a lot of his mistakes come when he plays hero ball. So it's going to be a challenge to get him back going, because there's so much areas on that team that need help, whether it's running, passing, or passing. He needs to improve running, catching the ball, blocking. But I've seen him make some incredible throws. I think the arm talent's translated, and I've seen a few of their games. You've seen flashes. It's just that offense has really nothing going for it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever questioned the arm talent. I think the question becomes kind of what the problem is. What you're saying is you're almost asking him to be a completely different player than he's been his entire career. That's not necessarily in his DNA to tone things back, and you're really taking away what's supposed to make him special. So we said it when he got drafted there. I was concerned about the surrounding situation. Obviously, they're going to need to make a lot of changes, but yeah, man, I'm concerned because you know how this goes, D. The problem is it's been so bad this year that the next situation that comes in is only going to give him a year. They're not going to give him multiple years. If it doesn't show much signs of improvement early next year, then they're probably going to end up moving on. So things got to change quickly for him next year.
Here's what I'll say on that. You look around the NFL and like, what's the story of this NFL season? If I had to pick one story of this NFL season, well, Baker Mayfield continues to do his thing. Sam Darnold is showing you what he can do. Daniel Jones is maybe leading the best offense in the NFL right now. Mac Jones is doing well for the San Francisco 49ers. So to me,
talented QBs he'll get another opportunity for sure.
And circumstance, environment matters a lot. As we know, we knew that already, but I think seeing these guys go to another spot and do very, very well at the highest levels says, all right, listen, this looks ugly right now. I mean, you're looking at it. It's 32nd in the league. And
dude, I didn't realize he only had 5 touchdown passes. This is worse than I thought.
But again, I go back to Mac, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. There are opportunities to rehab in other places. Hope you don't get there because Tennessee invested in Cam as their franchise quarterback. It's going to need to be a better situation to allow him to thrive. I think that the arm talent's translated. I think mentally, I'm the biggest Cam Ward fan on the planet. I think he just has it between the ears in a way that is very, very strong. Just mentally, like just cognitively, how smart he is, and then emotionally, I think he's made of the right stuff. I think he's tough. I just think it's gonna take a while because that team is as bad as it gets.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, he's the quarterback.
So shifting focus to Elijah Arroyo, the next draftee from the Canes. Someone posted some all 22. Maybe I'll pull it up. He is struggling blocking, probably more than I expected. You never thought he was going to be like a great blocker at his size, but he was a good blocker in college, a tough player. But the receiving, you're starting to see it. And he had a beautiful, beautiful touchdown last week against the Washington, what do they call it? Commanders. I keep stopping the Redskins. Really, really nice touchdown catch. 169 yards, 13 receptions, 1 touchdown on a really, really good Seahawks team. But I think he's trending in the right direction, at least as a receiver, because that was a tough. It wasn't a wide open, schemed up play. He did. He beat the defender, made a nice catch, pretended to give the ball to the Washington fans, and then tossed it backwards right there. So arrow pointing up, I think, for Arroyo.
Yeah, I think they expected more from him at this point as a second-round pick. It's taken him, I think, like you said, the blocking has not been something that they've trusted to this point, from what I understand. But we know this is who he is in terms of being a downfield vertical threat. Is going to scare the defense with that speed. And then, look, they've got another nice tight end over there in Barner, so that's kind of the other issue, is that he's playing behind him right now. But yeah, I think you draft someone in the second round, you're expecting him to be a feature part of their offense. So hopefully he becomes more of that down the line here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, down the line, he caught a touchdown this past week. The physical part, as far as like getting open, running routes and all that, I see him having no problem getting open and doing those things. Barner has been the main tight end, but not that. I mean, if you look at the team's leading receivers, you have JSN, Cooper Kupp, you know that. Then Barner right next to that, and then Arroyo right after. So Barner's got 21 catches, Arroyo's got 13, but Arroyo more explosive on those catches. So that's a two-man attack. Torrey Horton on the way up as well from Colorado State. That's an interesting team. Seattle in general, they really did a nice job rebuilding that operation. But I just think Arroyo needs to continue developing, keep moving in the right direction. I like the trajectory. Just a rookie, and I think he's going to be he'll be a really good player alongside of Barner, and they'll just be a two tight end attack. Arroyo almost more like a receiver. He could probably be an X receiver. Truthfully,
yeah. I think that's probably the role you're going to see him play most of his career. So let's hope he obviously stays healthy, because that was the issue for him during his career in Miami, and as he continues to get more opportunities, I'm sure he'll thrive.
Now, Francisco Mauanoa, I'm trying to figure this one out. What happened? And there's a lot of Jets fans in the chat.
I heard he won I think he took over the starting job from Williams.
He did. I mean, he was starting and really doing a good job, I thought. But again, the Jets are terrible. So these were all losses. So I guess to say he's doing a good job, I don't know. The defense was playing better than the offense. But then last game against Cincinnati, where Cincinnati did put up a lot of points, and you saw a fire sale immediately thereafter. Only got 19 defensive snaps, 32% of his total snaps. Became more of a special teams guy. You see, kind of this is the before you see mostly playing defense and then little special teams. Then last game he was playing less on defense, more on special teams, kind of shifting to a secondary role. But he's someone he's played 265 defensive snaps his rookie year. I expect that to continue to go up. You hope with the youth movement and the just kind of rebuild that the Jets are doing, you see him get a chance to play more. I'd like to see him get downfield a little more. 0 tackles for loss, 0 sacks. This is a guy who thrives going downhill. That's what he does best. But I think overall, a positive rookie season so far for Kiko Mauanoa. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick. Those guys are not guaranteed to start games ever. And the fact that he's already starting games as a freshman, even on a bad team, I think is a positive to me.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think he and now has this opportunity here to at least, with these situations that are always so bad, you never know what's going to happen with the next coach or I mean, it doesn't look like they're firing Glenn right now, but at least he can get some nice film out here now.
No doubt. With
the team season over with.
No doubt. And he is, I mean, I'm assuming he's a good special teams player. I haven't seen him play a ton of it, quite frankly. You got to really dig into, I've not dug into Jets special teams film this season with the way they're playing, but you imagine he's good on special teams as well. So he's going to have that in his pocket. So the fact that he's getting experience at defense first, as opposed to having to earn his stripes on special teams for multiple years and then get an opportunity to play defense, maybe get pigeonholed as a special teams player, I think that's positive. So I think from the Francis side or the Kiko side, I feel Francisco, I feel pretty good about what he's doing. Yeah, Jets are loading up on picks.
This is what I'm alluding to. You never know what the plans are for next year. But man, if he can put good film out there, and then he cements himself as an NFL player, essentially, because obviously he's out there now, but makes himself a potential stalwart for them, or gets traded or whatever. So
I'll tell you what I'm doing if I'm the Jets. Let's say they take Francisco, or they take Fernando Mendoza, number 1, which it sounds like that might happen if they have that opportunity. Let's see how the rest of the season goes for Mendoza, but the Cuban Emory Williams is trending to be the number 1 overall pick.
Hey, I'll tell you what though, if he didn't have those A Street connections, he would be
the A Street connections are working in the NFL draft rooms, I heard.
Crazy.
But I would do what the Titans didn't do, and I would just overinvest in making sure that the offense is on point for whoever their quarterback is. Let the defense, like guys like Mauanoa, play. I don't understand why teams draft these quarterbacks and then try to build the complete team right away, where they're trying to build the defense and the offense at the same time. Build your offense first. Make sure your quarterback is good, because that quarterback's good and confident and knows what he's doing and gets experience without getting his confidence crushed and the team's just collapsing on offense. He's going to have a 10-year career for you, 15-year career for you. So invest all your resources on offense. And if you're losing 39-38 every week, who cares? As long as your quarterback is a guy that's a keeper. So I hope they invest on the offensive side for whoever the quarterback is. But another guy on defense for the Jets, Tyler Barron, a familiar face. He's someone who his usage has gone down quite a bit. Had some his issue. He played early. as a 5th-round pick. So again, another guy that was on a bad team, but getting an opportunity to play early and actually play in the NFL, not just be a guy that gets drafted. But there's some physicality issues for him, some run defense stuff, which we saw at Miami a little bit. That's also reared its head in the New York Jets. He just needs to do a better job in the run game, being a little more physical. He's somebody who has all the ability to be a really good run defender, but I don't know mentally if he's locked in on that part of the game as consistently as he needs to be to last in the NFL. So I'm a little more worried about him than the other 5th-round pick with Kiko.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that a guy like him, what gets him there is the size and that frame and physical ability that will always get him in the door. But unfortunately, there comes a point that if you're not being consistent with it, then you'll bounce around.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if he's dealing with injury or what, or if this is just a playing time deal, but he has not played since the 5th of October, so basically a month since that Dallas game. So he was playing a good amount on defense. So just to kind of recap Tyler Barron's season, 7 defensive snaps the first game, 7 special team snaps. Then he goes to 25 defensive snaps, 18 defensive snaps, 25 defensive snaps again. So a decent amount of snaps on the defensive side of the ball, and then nothing. So I don't know if he's just in the doghouse, if he's hurt, but he's not playing quite as much as he was earlier in the year. He's not playing at all. So you hope to see him get back on track for a team that needs guys to play. This is probably his best opportunity to get snaps on a, no one wants to be in a last place team, but if you're a rookie defensive player or someone who's just trying to get on the field as a 5th-round pick, excuse me, you want to be on a team like the Jets. So Tyler Barron, hoping to see him get on the field. One guy who's got on the field, Pete, for the Cincinnati Bengals, that's Jalen Rivers, man. Jalen Rivers playing good football. There you see the Pro Football Focus. Gabby posted this one. Lowest pressure rate allowed by a rookie offensive lineman week 8. So this was last week. Jalen Rivers on that list. PFF grades are a little ugly. So didn't love what I saw on those. Take them somewhat with a grain of salt, but with offensive linemen, but you'd like those to be higher than lower. I think Rivers is a guy that he'll take some lumps, but the fact that he's already starting as a rookie, he's so smart and he's so big that I think the longer he lasts and plays, you're going to see him improve maybe more than others just because he's so diligent. He's so smart. He's going to make adjustments. He's not going to just go in there and be perfect right away and physically like, hey, I'm so athletic, I can make up for some mistakes. I think it's going to be more about getting experience, racking those starts. And then you look back 10 years from now and you're like, man, Jalen Rivers has been starting for 10 years. I think you could see that, although if we're being honest, he's not performing at the highest level right now.
That's my concern, D, and I think that's why he wasn't a top 3-4 round guy, is because there are just physical limitations to his game in terms of the quickness, the ability, the footwork to stay in front of what some of these athletes are at this level. So I'm with you. I think he'll stick around in this league for a while. What his ceiling is, I don't know, just because there's only so much to work with, but he can be a very valuable part of an offensive line as a, potentially like the 6th offensive lineman, can play either of the guard spots, could play a right tackle in an absolute pinch. And it's very important and impressive that he's getting early looks right now for the Bengals. But yeah, I think that's my only question with him is what's the ceiling there?
Yeah, and I think that's the difference, what you just described from a backup, like a backup player that's valuable. That's like your good day 3 pick, right? Versus a guy that is your longtime starter at guard or tackle or wherever he ends up, which would be, to me, outplaying his draft spot.
I always thought this would be an option for him, as Fire Marine Kane says. Rivers can play center in the league. I've always thought that as well, but
yeah, and this is a big year for him. He's getting a lot of tape out there. Really, you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 6 games, he's played every snap on offense. So he is legitimately the starter on that team. Not a great team that has scored some points. I mean, given they don't have Joe Burrow, but is not a great team, not a great offensive line. So that, to me, is going to be the story. Is he going to be a long-term starter or more of just a good backup? If he's a good backup, now that's a solid day 3 pick, which is where he got picked. If he's a starter, he's now overperformed and kind of been more where I kind of had him, which is as a day 2 pick talent. I didn't know he'd go in the day 2, but I thought this guy's going to start for a while. You take those guys day 2. We'll see. I think he could go either way, to be honest with you. I haven't studied him in depth, but when I've watched him, I've seen some good, seen some bad. Positive is he's out there, and he's out there every single snap.
Juan Manuel been listening to us too much. He says, "Can Rivera play center?" No. We're not going to talk about any more Latinos today, man. No more. D, by the way, I have to shout out because we forgot to yesterday.
Send him out.
As always on Wednesdays,
our
lunch was provided by Pop Subs, which, by the way, I gotta give it up to our boy Patrick. Pat, we had a couple weeks on the Wednesdays there where like something one week we it was our fault. We had a couple of us has eaten whatever, we didn't order it. Another week we were out of the studio, so we just didn't have the Pop Sub situation going on. And Patrick told me before, he's like, I don't like this. We're throwing things off. We're getting out of our normal rhythm here. So we got it back on track yesterday. Pop Subs in the heart of Glenvar, Sunset and 87th. Shout out to Maurice, whipping it up as always. But yeah, man, Pop Subs, delicious lunch yesterday, and we won't miss the Wednesdays, man, anymore. That was on us.
100%. Shout out to Patrick. Shout out to Pops. The luck is back. We're gonna blow out Syracuse, man. You're the man. Appreciate you. If we're talking about success story with these NFL guys, I think right now the best one is going to be Andy Borregales for the New England Patriots, because it looked very bleak right here. So he missed a 40-yarder against Las Vegas.
And then 2 extra points against the Dolphins. Yeah, that was the one.
But then in this game, he got the game ball, right? Because he had that 53-yarder that kind of put the game away. So this was, to me, a turning point, hitting that 53-yarder, getting that vote of confidence. And then after that, it's been off and running. You look at the stats. He has not missed a kick since. So extra points have been clean since those 2 misses. And then field goal wise, since that game against Miami, second week of the season, he's hit 2 40-plus yard field goals out of 2, and then 2 50-yard or 1 50-yard since then, a 52-yarder, but he hit a 53-yarder in that Dolphins game. So he's been pretty solid, man, for a really, really good New England Patriots team that's rolling. And I think the kickoffs is never going to be a strength. Luckily, the kickoff rules have kind of made it easier for him, I think. But the way he's kicking the ball is really why they drafted him. He's shown he can hit long ones. He's being consistent. I think Andy, kickers can go sideways. We've seen it. But the way he's playing right now and the toughness and confidence he showed to push through a tough game and get game balls and get the confidence of his coaching staff, I think has done wonders. And I think he's on his way to a good career.
Brilliant move by Vrabel there, because I mean, look, a team puts a draft pick into a kicker. You can't cut ties after a couple weeks, right? You've invested a draft pick in that player, so he got the vote of confidence from them, and doesn't look like he's turning back, man. We always knew he had the boot. And I'm really happy for the guy. Great dude, and was a great Hurricane. Yep.
So fired up, man. Really excited to see the rest of his career. Last one, there's not really much to report, as I understand, is Damian Martinez, drafted 7th round by the aforementioned Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if you have any intel on what happened there, but he's not even on a practice squad. I don't understand why he's not on a practice squad. Still not on the practice squad. I'm looking through here. A lot of fans asking for their teams to sign him to a practice squad, but I haven't seen it, and I don't understand it. I'm not shocked that it hasn't worked out, because running backs, it's a tough position, man. There's a lot of guys, especially last year. There were so many guys that you saw. I mean, Ollie Gordon got drafted in the 6th round. Ollie Gordon, or 5th, 6th round. He was a star, and he's been a good player. So, like, there's a lot of guys, but no practice squad. Something's up there, because I don't get it for a guy that can pass protect pretty well and is a solid power runner.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of the situation. What I will say is, normally if a guy gets gets cut and doesn't get picked back up, there's some sort of word about practice habits or something like that. Again,
Yeah.
I'm not speculating, but that's the only thing I can think of because, I mean, the dude was here at Miami for a year, and in terms of locker room stuff and all that, everyone seemed to be positive about him. He ran hard at Miami. I think there was the first 3-4 weeks, people were kind of like waiting for him to really get going, and then he became such a heart and soul of the team, with what Cam was doing as well, that he that's the only explanation I can have, man. I mean, word travels. So if he didn't have good practice habits or something, some teams are just like, we're not going to put up with that. But that's just speculation. So
Yeah, it's a tough running back's a tough position, man. Like Mark Fletcher, we talked about him. I don't know what's up with Martinez, but Fletcher, I know his intangibles are ridiculous. But it's a tough position. Like, he's going to be a great, to me, college player for us. Fletcher has been a great college player for us, but you don't know what his pro future is. It's like, I think really in the NFL, the way it's gone is you have to be like the guys that they value are those super dynamic backs, just because in college, it's very hard to find guys like Martinez and Fletcher. Not every team has guys like that. When you get them, it's gold, and they can control the game by being physical. But in the NFL, it's a little easier to find guys like that. So the ones that you pay more money for are those dynamic guys that in the NFL, you got a whole week to scheme. You can do week-to-week game plans more than you do in college. Those like Jahmyr Gibbs types become more valuable because there's just not as many of them, and you can use them while also finding a big back off the street. I mean, Damian Martinez right now, anybody can pick him up. So those guys are just a little more replaceable at the pro level.
Yeah, that's the position. So unfortunate, but yeah, we'll see what happens with Fletcher. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, and with Fletcher, whatever happens with him, guy's a great cane and great player. By the way, Damian Martinez, great cane, great player, ran for 1,000+ yards, 6+ yards per carry. We had a great running game last year, top 5 in the country in yards per carry. We miss him. I mean, we miss him when you look at our numbers this year. So shout out to Damian Martinez. I hope he's able to find a good spot for him. Real quick, Pete, I want to talk some Canes hoops before we get out of here. I want to talk about Play It Forward, the rare triple win. That's the KashKick app, KashKick, KashKick app. Download the app. You participate in the Play It Forward program automatically, and what happens is you play all these games. These games are consolidated on your phone. You find what you like, whether it's puzzles, action games, sports games, RPGs, whatever it is, you'll have a game that suits your interest or multiple. You got them all on your phone, so you can find it real fast with the KashKick app, KashKick, one of the top apps in the country, most downloaded. Then when you play, you make money. Advertisers pay you money directly. Goes right into your PayPal account. A million ways to connect. This is, again, 4.5 plus average rating on the Apple App Store. There's a million plus people playing this app. But you sign up with PayPal, money goes to your account, and as that money goes to your account, they also make a equivalent donation to the American Cancer Society, disease that's affected all of us and everybody's families. You help that cause, you make money yourself, and you play games. Win-win-win situation, the rare triple win. That's the Play It Forward campaign for KashKick, KashKick, in the App Store. All right, big one today. Bigger challenge for our boys. What do you hope to see after it? Oh, there. Let's go.
A reminder of the past and a glimpse into the future.
Let's go. Like Play by the Rules says, this one's not a gimme. Auburn, which has been one of the best programs in the country the last few years, went to OT with Bethune. So what are you thinking as far as this game, P? What do you hope to see?
16.5-point favorites, Miami is. You got to think that, listen, this is a bunch of guys that are, I know they shouldn't be like needing a game against Auburn to pump them up against playing the team, just because like all these guys, it's a brand new team. Like, I know they're ready to go regardless, right? But I think that aspect of it, which they've been hearing all week, man, they took them to overtime. They're thinking, oh, that was Auburn. This is us. I believe, as Canes Cats Heat 305 was saying in the Discord earlier, the team total over under is 84.5. So, looking like they should be able to get over 80. That's a nice test to see that they could do it. Auburn did it as well before regulation was done there. So a team that should have more offensive prowess than Miami. And again, you just want to see them build. I know that the staff wasn't particularly happy with how the team played the other day, even though they got the win. We talked about how there was a bit of sloppiness, but game one. But the standard's high from the staff, man. They're excited to see how this team kind of grows throughout the season. And this is a nice test, man. This is not the same like we talk about with football, man. Talking to some people about the Jacksonville team the other day, that guard play was really, really strong. Like that, you wouldn't have seen that sort of guard play at a school like Jacksonville pre-NIL era. The same way we see things trickle down in football as well. But man, in basketball, it's even more. I would say it's even more directly affecting things. You got 5 guys on the court at once. In football, you got 11 guys on the field, and there's such a physical aspect to it. Basketball, the skill element and the fact that there's just less guys that can end up affecting what's happening on the court, D.
Yeah, the guards on our side are who I want to see really take a step forward, because I thought Uday was great. Renaud is going to do what he does.
Renew.
Sorry, we worked on this before the season because we said it wrong all year.
No, I was saying Renew, but you got that French look at the end there that gives you that different potential pronunciation, but it's Renew.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about him at all. I think Uday, I feel very good about just his role and what he's going to bring. I know Lynn Kidd was dominating these centers this time last year, but just a different look with Uday. You can see how it translates. I want to see better play from the guards, and I liked how they compete on defense, although there was a little bit more paint touches maybe than the staff would have liked. But I'd love to see Donaldson or Dante Allen, just somebody kind of take over the game. Because we've had, if you look at this team, man, since the history of Miami Hurricanes basketball, and this is pretty much every basketball team that's had success, you have to have guards that can really take over a game when it gets ugly, especially a game, like we're going to have a lot of close games with the way we play. So like, who's going to be that guy that can really stabilize and say, hey, I need to get to the line. I need to get a bucket here. I'm going to hit a big shot. I'm going to get somebody wide open. Like, is that going to be Trey? Is that going to be Dante Allen? Is that going to be both? That's something I'm watching over the next few games, because look, one game against Jacksonville, don't read too much into it, but we're going to need 1 or 2 guys that are those go-to, give me the ball, I'm going to make something happen players, or else you're going to have what you had last year, which was kind of a lot of indecision with guys looking at each other like, all right, whose turn is it?
Interestingly, you know who Bethune-Cookman's coach is, D?
Who?
Reggie Theus, former Kings head coach.
Yeah,
Reggie Theus. I played in the league as well, I was reading also that they got like a multi-million-dollar donation from Charles Barkley as well to the program. So
Bethune, yeah, there's a lot of there's money. There's money going into these to the HBCUs right now. There's like a movement to do that. So it's cool. I mean, it's a Florida school. You want them not only to have money they can use, for the university and the academics, but also for the sports. It's their team. We play in a lot of sports. A lot of good players there, guys that want an opportunity. So I think that's a cool thing that you're seeing these programs get more resources, especially in the NIL era. Reggie Theus, I remember him. He was I looked it up because I remember this when I was a kid. He was an actor. I remember seeing him on a show called Hang Time when I was a kid, which is like a basketball show, and he was the coach on the show, but he was an actor. So shout out Reggie Theus, and he was a very good basketball player as well.
Yep, that's an interesting one there. So obviously they got some guys too. So see what happens tonight, man.
And you know who's going to be there? So today's Thursday, right? So we got Thursday. I'm losing track with this daylight savings time's throwing my whole life up in upheaval. I just don't know what day it is. I love it because I'm an early riser, but still, it kind of screws you up sometimes. But today is Thursday as we record this. Tomorrow is Friday. And if You're going to see the game today. Hopefully go to the game today if you're local. Watch Miami beat Bethune. And then tomorrow you could talk about it with the man himself, Coach Jay Lucas. Friday, tomorrow, November 7th, 5 to 6 p.m., meet and greet at the Miami Hurricane Team Store right across the street from the University of Miami, right next to the Thesis Hotel. Promo code INSIGHT20 will get you 20% off your first item in-store or online, MiamiHTS.com. But check out that meet and greet with Miami basketball head coach Jay Lucas.
Yeah, so as JT's saying here, Bethune-Cookman basketball, their best players are Arterio Morris, who former Kansas guard who was, I guess, accused of, I don't know if it was sexual assault or rape. And it was, obviously a terrible situation, and has worked his way back here into the mix here. So
yeah, it's there's gonna be talented guys always on these teams, right? It's not just guys that didn't have the tools to make a D1 or to make it at the Power 4. College basketball Power 5, we still call it, right? Power 6. What's the power in college basketball?
I mean, I guess it's Power 4 still. I don't know. I mean, you have the Big East is such a great conference. These other conferences are still in the mix. So it's not really, I got to say, it's mid-major.
Yeah, you got mid-majors and mid-majors.
Really just mid-major.
Yeah, so like there's guys that are capable of playing at the major level or being good at the mid-major level that are at these programs. So you can't take them lightly. I agree with you. Pete Jacksonville's body types and just overall ability was higher than I would have expected. Certainly higher than what we saw last year at this time with that Fairleigh Dickinson team that was abysmal. But this will be a bigger test, man. It'll be fun to watch.
Yep. Be out there tonight, 7 o'clock, Theater of Dreams. And I will be on for a post-game, as always, brought to you by Aries Law PA. So stay tuned for that.
Go Canes.
Go Canes. Hit that like and subscribe.